What's up? How you been
What
doing?
is up? Dude, I'm good, man. Um, happy everything's going good. Weather's great. But well you're in a new spot. Where you at, Dave?
Man, I'm just living in Hawaii again. So just living the best life I can. So 808, baby.
There you go. Um, so you've been sending me pictures of hikes getting up on the mountains. So you're telling me you got lost in the
Yeah.
forest.
Just as many hikes as we can. I mean, I think that's the best thing about living where we're living. So we get out and we get sunburnt. Guys, I'll show you this. Yeah, there we
Oh,
go. I've got sunburn and white on the other side. So
nudity
good times.
nudity warning. Um, so we've had a lot going on since the last time we talked. Obviously for you, you've been moving, and I moved a few months ago, so that's been busy.
Yep.
We're in the middle of the season, but now you're sitting there, new digs. You're still at a hotel. You're gonna be getting a place soon, but we don't know how soon. So we'll do this a little at a time, right? Like set your
Slowly.
studio up one bit at a time, right?
Slowly.
So
Slowly but surely.
so that's what's changed with us. But what's changed like with this team? We've had a few adjustments. We
Yeah.
saw the draft.
Well,
We start the
first
draft.
But we saw Crusoe come into the Thunder to start off
Okay,
everything. That
that's right.
was
Yeah.
we talked about that in last podcast. But that was the beginning of some big moves. And it was pretty crazy.
All right, so Caruso comes in and is the first sign maybe that Sam Presti is thinking like we need to come back better, not just in one position because obviously we're hoping that we're going to be improved because of the attributes that Alex does well in conjunction with our team. There's an assumption that because Giddey might have averaged more points or whatever, rebounds, things like that, that he might have been a better fit. But in the end, I think Alex is going to bring really what we're looking for. He fits in well with the organization, and he's going to fit well with his team. And if we had stopped there, that'd have been cool. We held the draft. We had the draft. The draft was eventful as you can ever hope. There were, we got our guy at 12, and we know we're going to wait for a year to see him, it seems like, which we're used to by now. So it feels like we're going to get, really a top 10 talent coming up next year, in the next season. So that's exciting. But then throughout the draft, after feeling like we weren't going to do much else, we were all over the place, Dave. Let's talk about how the draft went down for us.
Yeah, we jumped up into a nice little spot. I think it was 26 that we picked up Jones. 28, something like that. Anyways, but we picked up this guy named Jones. If you guys didn't see the G League or the Summer League game yesterday, he looks phenomenal. He looks really like he's ready to go. And then we were able to pick up a second rounder. We always love to see second rounders, but we ended up with 3 players. The second rounder already signed a 2-way contract, so that's really cool. But we're looking good, and I think
Then we picked up an undrafted guy too. So
yeah.
like
Who we picked up? You know who we picked up though, right?
I know it's from
Kentucky
Australia,
Killer,
St.
bro.
Mary's.
Kentucky
Oh
Killer. Yeah,
yeah.
bro. Whatever his name is, he not we didn't pick him up. He came out and worked out for us, but I think we signed him on a 2-way contract as well. My point is that we're being active, we're doing good things, and those are the type of players that we love to see play for the Thunder because we know in the future they're going to end up being a coach, which is fun to see.
So draft gets through. Now we're feeling pretty interested with this squad. But then
we're wondering what type of move because we have all this money left.
Yeah.
And the first thing that happens,
Sam Presti knocks on somebody's door at midnight, baby.
But before that, though,
my bad. Getting ahead of
before
myself.
that, we decided to decline Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins' contract for this year, which is a guaranteed $2 million, guys. It was so low. And we're sitting there going, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Little did we know that Hartenstein.
Isaiah
Hartenstein. There we go. Hartenstein. was on Oklahoma City Thunder's hit list, and Sam Presti does his best. When Mark and I talked about this yesterday, he let me in on a little bit of what happened with the contract, where the Knicks were offering him 4 years, 60 million or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the Thunder only got 3 years out of it, but they paid him a little bit more and a year less. So it really gives him an opportunity to sign another contract while he's in his prime,
which is huge. So again, huge deal by Sam Presti to really strengthen our core. And I want to say this is that picking up Alex Caruso and Hartenstein, two of the best defenders, in my opinion, at their positions in the league for role players, guys. All right.
Yeah.
That means that our defensive team is going to be better. Okay. Our defensive rebounding is going to be better. Our offensive rebounding is going to be better. We're going to have a better knowledge of where players are supposed to be at from Caruso and Hartenstein. So if we have all these guys, and Mark and I sat there yesterday and we debated who was going to start with the starting lineup. Like, is it going to be Caruso or is it going to be Hartenstein? And all I got to say is this, is that it doesn't matter. Because this team, yet again, is going to be 12 deep. I mean, think about this, guys. The way this team is going to be designed, Ousmane Dieng is going to be coming in as the 9th or 10th player coming into the season, right? He's going to have to earn his spot. He's going to have to beat out players to get to that spot. Well, you say, Ousmane Dieng, right? But no. Go look at the G League games last year. Go look at the Summer League. Watch the Summer League games today or tomorrow, whatever it is that the Thunder are playing again. Ousmane Dieng is special. He's not like anybody else that we've seen in a long time, and he's taken time to develop, which we have the time to help him develop. But when push comes to shove, Ousmane Dieng is going to take up a lot of minutes, and he's going to play really, really well. And he's going to be one of those players that by the end of the season, I think he's going to be in the top 7 or 8 players in the on the team, which is a huge, huge step up for somebody that is, I would say, going to be fighting for time in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have an opportunity. This is going to be his opportunity, though. You know, if he doesn't find himself into the rotation this year, you know, we're probably not going to see him on the team next year. But I do think he's been working hard enough. I feel like that if we give him some of those minutes that last year we were giving Trey Mann or Vasa or some of these other guys where we gave them pretty good opportunities, and when it was time, you know, we shortened our rotation. Sam actually did it so Coach D didn't have to, but that's, I think, an opportunity. You know, we talked about it. You mentioned it. We were 12 deep last year, but we were a fake 12 deep. Like we would play 12, and Coach had trust in the players to give them opportunities. But when you saw like the rotation really tighten down, as far as Coach's trust, he looked a little bit like Tom Thibodeau going to 8 deep in the playoffs for a minute there. And I think knowing that those guys that Coach really, really, you know, trusted and went to, you know, when things were tough, those guys are locked up. Now we've got an opportunity to see if we can round out the rest of it and really just get an idea of what this all looks like together.
Yeah, and this goes back to during the season when you and I were talking and we got into depth about, like, what is our timeline here? You know, how many more years do we have with this team, you know, put in connection to what is going on? And I guarantee you we're going to find out really quickly, because we've said that we believe that after this year, we have a 2 to 3 year timeline that we have to get something done. And this goes back to now is that something that we have to look at? Is because the moment that Shea is up for a new contract for his 5 years, it's going to be an average of like 72 or 74 million a year averaging out. At some points, it's going to get up to $80 million a year. So I can't say this enough. When that happens, and the next thing you know is we have to pay J-Dub and we have to pay Chet and all this other stuff is starting to happen, and we can't get a championship or we can't get to a finals appearance, we're in trouble. We're in trouble to keep this team together. So that's what this is so important. That's why we keep on coming back to the table of this, is saying, how do we keep this team together? It's by giving this team an opportunity to win. Now, we did not need to go out and get a special player aka a star, a shooting star like Klay Thompson, right? Shooting star. But we did need better role players. We needed guys that were more comfortable in playing that role player position. And we love Josh Giddey. We will always love to follow his game, but he wasn't understanding what his role was with this new team. And if you look at the minutes, it showed right there that Coach D wasn't understanding of what Josh needed, and Josh was understanding what the team needed. And when that happens, and there's this discommunication with it, you got to stop and have to wonder, how are they going to get through it? And the biggest thing of when Sam sat down with Josh and explained to him, you're coming off the bench this next year. This is what's going on. I love the fact that Josh said, I want to bet on myself. And I applaud him. So now moving forward and recognizing that Josh fit this team so well, we love Josh, but Caruso is a better fit for that role position that we were expecting Josh to play. And he's a better defender, and he's a better guy when it comes to shooting three-point percentage. So you're looking at the weaknesses of Josh as now the strengths of Alex Caruso, and it's really powerful. And I think this is going to really pay off in the long run, because if we're playing against a team like Dallas again, they can't leave Caruso open. Like Caruso can also guard Luka. Caruso can also guard Kyrie. And we can just rotate those motherfuckers around until we get everybody shut down like we did this last time against Dallas, minus the role players that screwed us over in the long run. Because that's what beat us. Dallas's role players. And when that happens, there's nothing we can do except for take it on the chin, take the lesson, and get our role players better, which we did.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that Dallas series, but it wasn't just like the role players beat us. Like, there are plenty of things we could break down. We really haven't spent much time talking about the Dallas series. I mean, it was rough, man. I'm not going to lie.
I got a question, though. With that Dallas series, our weaknesses, Sam addressed to a very fine tee.
Yes. I mean, you look at the dual big man option that they were killing us with. Now, we got that. And then you add another elite all-NBA defender for the wing, for the point guard position. That's going to help us out. You lock up the guys that we were rolling with, but you flip over to Dallas and you look at Dallas, and now they've added Klay. They're not done getting better, I assume. And you look at Minnesota. They went out and they decided they wanted to move up into the top 8 and get their man there. I forget their guy's name right now, but I assume this guy's going to be a stud. Kentucky player. I was watching him for yeah, I don't know, but I was checking him out for a while. I mean, he's going to be good. So they're going to be better. I'm not sure that the Nuggets will be better, but I think they could maybe be more focused. So the West has gotten better. And obviously we're not really talking about anything in the East.
Lakers got Bronny, bro.
Yeah, forget about that, dude. But I mean, well, look at. Let's talk a little bit about the East, though, because we saw Paul George go to.
Clippers got worse.
The Clippers got worse, which is good for us, because Paul George decided to go to Philly. I like that.
What happens when
Kawhi
gets into it?
And then
we get their pick, right?
I think it's an unprotected first round pick, Dave.
I know, dude. Give us. We want it.
And we have the MVP coming into the year, guys. I mean, people were saying that it was his. He should have had it. I agree. We made the campaign all year long, but in the end, unless you're winning in June, you're not going to earn any damn respect. And you want the MVP award, you're going to have to continue to win a little bit deeper. I think they'll give it to Shea if he comes out and he leads us to a clear number 1 in the West, but we'll see what happens. I'm not too worried about that. Let's talk a bit more about the East, Dave. The Knicks went ahead and made an interesting move before we went and stole their big. They get Mikal Bridges. They emptied the cupboard a little bit for him, and I think that was the right move. He fits in obviously really well. What do they call these guys?
The Nova Knicks.
The Nova Knicks. It's fun. It's fun. Maybe they should bring in Jay Wright and bring it all together, dude. What do you think?
I mean, if Jay Wright's going to come out of retirement, it's going to be for something like this, where a bunch of his ex players are on a team and they're like, "Come on, coach, 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 coach,
That
coach."
dude, that would
But
be sexy, dude. That'd be sexy.
that would be crazy. But I like that move. I like this 76ers move to get Paul George to team him up with Embiid and Maxey. I think that was a solid move. I I think as far as everybody else, I like the Mitchell move, signing him to a long term deal there in Cleveland, max deal. I hate the Cade Cunningham and the Franz Wagner
Wagner.
signings.
So what?
Both
How
of
much
them,
did?
both of them got the max. They both got $228 million. That could turn up to be up to like 270 million, something crazy like that. Insanity. But Cade is locked up. I don't like those moves. And the reason I don't like those moves is because that money should be reserved for star players, not potential star players. Potential star players should never be making that type of money. I'm sorry, they just should not. Like you look at teams that like sign Bridges, and they get them for like $40 million for 4 years or whatever. Like that's the type of deals that these guys should be signing for their first contracts, big contracts. Not like Kate Cunningham should have been signed for like maybe $20 million a year. Instead, they just give him the everything. I don't get it. He's just
Well,
not.
this
I,
happens
I,
like a lot of players will get
you just spent your
drafted.
royalty money. You don't have any more money, guys. Like, what are you going to do, Detroit? I mean, like, how are you going to build a team around Cade Cunningham at $229 million? You can't.
I mean, there's a serious issue when you look at drafting players really high in the draft. And I know that you can't like say like Shea is the way that you want to find your players because you can't always find a guy like him at 12. You'll pick him wherever you can find him, no matter where that's at. But having a guy that is somewhere around 12, Shea wouldn't have made it to 18 in the draft, but who knows who would have picked him. But it could have been anybody around that 12, 13, 14 range. And as it turned out, it was the Hornets, which is a pretty cool thing because they getting traded from the Hornets to LA. That's what happened with Kobe. So a little nice little vibe there. And you kind of look at it, you say like, what is it that takes? Like, why are these players that are being drafted number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, like all these numbers, like why are they not on the same trajectory as Shea? And there's something about the way that a player who comes in at 12 who knows that like they want to be a star and they're not a star yet and they stay hungry and they continue to improve, that the trajectory is just far more advantageous. Plus that extension, you're not sitting there paying them $200 million before they've proven it when they've been drafted at 12, right? Like at number 1, you'll pay him $200 million because you're afraid of losing him, not because he's earned it. And that's kind of the thing. And I don't want to make it a small part of it with Josh Giddey. Like if we had another year with Josh Giddey under contract, he would be around for one more year. But what he's in the market for is like $200 million. And he's not going to reach that with us because that would be irresponsible for us to like just completely lock up our future. And I do think somebody out there might be willing to pay it. So it's very different to me than other situations where we saw players who like I wish we had paid them, and we could have maybe stayed good or things like that. We've had these questions about like Harden. He goes on to be an MVP, these things, and it hurt, right? It hurt. But with Josh, if Josh goes on to be an MVP, like I'm not going to let that hurt because as much as I wanted him to be successful for the Thunder, like when he said, I want to bet on myself instead of come off the bench, I thought like, that's the move I would want to make. As much as I want to be the guy that like is willing to do whatever it takes to be on a championship team and come off the bench, deep down, if I had a pathway to a $200 million contract and I like part of that meant I had to go start at point guard for the Chicago Bulls, how am I going to feel like that's like a bad thing? You know what I mean? Like that's an amazing thing. And that's what I respect the hell out of him for making that move.
I look at Wagner, Franz Wagner, and I look at Cade Cunningham and Josh Giddey on the same level. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but you guys need to think about it like this: is that $200 million for these guys is going to be normal. and it's bonkers to me because I look at the structures of what we're trying to do with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I look at these $200 million that are just being handed out, and it's like, listen, know the market. And that's all I have to say about that, is because on the open market, they can only sign for 4 years. Well, what's the max for 4 years? Like, this is the things that we're trying to understand. And that's why Sam Presti behind closed doors is so powerful at this, is because he will wipe away 1 year of, Aaron Wiggins' contract at $2 million and give him a, $10 million contract, or Isaiah Joe do the same thing. I mean, he'll do the same thing to Chet. He'll do whatever it takes to get these numbers at a little bit lower number in the longevity of the contracts. And I think it's perfect for what we're trying to build here in Oklahoma City, is that it's not about giving these guys max contracts. It's about recognizing the ones that have earned it are going to get it. Like I still remember, and as clear as day, as Russ is sitting up there, and some jackass motherfucking idiot says, "Is James Harden worth a max contract?" And Russ is like, "Hell no, he's not. He doesn't play defense." Right? That's, to me, exactly what we're trying to build here. If you can't be an all-around player, if you can't be an top NBA, then I'm sorry. You don't have what it takes to be on this team. And it's about moving on while these players are still valuable. Because if we held on to Josh for 1 more year and signed him on a contract, his value just drops. It tanks. But now we got a huge payday for Josh. Now we can go and turn around and do what we need to do. And I think that's the key about it all. When we're making this and we're building this for the future and we're looking at it, the Thunder are going to be at a different level than everybody else, because we understand. We understand what the market is. We understand what the max money that these other players can get, because I'm sorry, Cade, you would not be able to get $40 million a year in the open market. What teams would be able to pay you $40 fucking million a year? Look at the salary caps. Maybe one next year. Think about that. It doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to give Josh Giddey $40 million a year, recognizing, right, that we're going to need that $40 million a year in the future. It doesn't make sense to give Chet, $40 million, $50 million a year if Chet hasn't earned that money. It makes sense if he has. And that's why we got to go back and we have to sit down and we have to be honest about every single player from this point on, because it's about the money. And unfortunately, we get reminded every fucking day throughout life is money and business go hand in hand. And when that goes in hand, everything else gets muddy. And that's why we have to sit back and we have to be realist about this, is that eventually when the money comes, it's what players have lived up to their potential. Has J-Dub continued to get better? Has Chet continued to get better? Has SGA earned $80 fucking million a year? These are the questions that need to be answered in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's why Mark and I are here. That's why we get excited about this, is because if you think about it in the NBA, how many teams are positioned for right now and in the future? 2. Us and maybe the Jazz. I mean, not even the Jazz. I mean, like, the Jazz are trying.
Jazz aren't. They're good for the future, but now it doesn't look so good for them. But
they had the opportunity to be in the playoffs the last couple of years. They've been on that in the tank position. So
yeah,
I just say that, like, there's very few teams out there that have an opportunity to be as good in the future as they are right now. And if you look at what the Thunder are doing and looking at the draft pick that we own from the Clippers next year, that shit right there, if Kawhi gets injured, could be a top 7 pick in an insanely deep draft. I mean, like, if you guys haven't seen what Cooper Flay can do, take a moment. He's on the USA team, balling out, practicing with them. He's a different breed. And these are the type of guys that are coming up. They're making AD and LeBron and all these other guys look old, which is crazy to me because they're motherfucking old. And nobody's been able to make them look old yet.
Man. Yeah, it's an exciting draft. People are going to be paying attention to him a lot. And got a lot of upside. Obviously, Paul George going to Philly kind of, potentially it decreases the value of that upcoming pick we have from them. But at the same time, Like,
Embiid gets injured.
chaos can ensue at any moment in Philly. We know that. If you said it, Embiid gets overworked in the Olympics or something and comes back and his eye's doing that thing again, whatever that was, dude, like, who knows?
I mean, Paul George, let me just put this right. He's a good enough player to hold that team accountable and get that team to the playoffs with Maxey. But they need Embiid to be able to compete with the Celtics. So that's that. I don't
That's
really.
that.
I listen.
East is moderately interesting, but we're in the West.
Think about this. Every year, Mark, we get 3 new guys from the draft. We get a top 12 player. Seems like that's been the case for a few years now. We get a second, 12, 11, or 28, 26, second player in that first round. And then we get a second rounder. And I think the thing about that is that because we're doing this the way that we're doing it, is we're going to be able to continue to bring in these players that are phenomenal players that have huge upsides that just needs time to develop. Because some of the guys that we have, we're not going to see for a couple of years because look at how long it's taken Usman Jang to break through. That's going to be the new norm because we are going to be so deep and we're going to have so many levels covered. Is that the second a player breaks through and breaks the numbers and gets in the top 10 or gets in the top 7 or gets in the top 6, whatever it is, one of those players is getting traded and they're moving out because that's the way this has to go. And unfortunately, it's business. Money equals money. Business equals business. And people are going to consistently say, we need to trade this player out because we need to have longevity for the next couple of years for draft picks, or we need flexibility for the future for money to sign players like SGA. So shit's coming, guys. Shit is coming, and it's a storm.
It is. And the best,
we're going to win this year.
The best times
this
are in
is
front,
the year,
dude.
bro. This is the year. We started
That's
saying it last
about.
year. We started saying it last year, halfway through the season. Why not this year? And we were that close, guys. We're that close. But this year, it's this year. There's no doubt about it. We're here. We're going to be playing. We've got the team around us. We've got the defenders that are way better. We got the role players, and we got the star that is going to win the MVP this year because he's going to average 33 points a game. He's going to put up crazy numbers, and he's going to get respect. And once that happens, there's no other guys in the league that anybody else is going to want. And people will be like, well, Luka, motherfucker. If Luka could play defense, then you could put him in the same category as SGA. Until Luka plays defense, I'm sorry, you cannot call him a two-way player. He's a unbelievable scorer, maybe one of the best offensive players the game has ever seen. But he's also, on the flip side, one of the worst defenders I have ever seen in the game. So you got to think about these things, guys.
SGA. That's all we got to say. We're coming back. We're going to the finals. We're going to win it all. Damn, dude. I'm pumped. And obviously, as we like to say at this time of year, Sam Presti has done it again. That bad man.
Sexy bad man.
Sexy bad man.
See you guys later.
See you soon.